What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about this big question here. Does pretty design lead to more sales? All right. Before we get into that, guys, I just want to also recommend, if you are struggling with your brand's positioning online, your messaging isn't quite tight enough to attract that ideal client that you're looking to serve, you may have some blind spots in your marketing or branding that you don't see because this isn't your wheelhouse. I highly recommend you book a brand assessment with me today, right after this call, by going to uniquedesignz.net and clicking that little yellow button up top that says book a one-on-one brand assessment. You and I will sit down for 60 minutes or so and really uncover some of the challenges that you're facing, where I could dive much deeper into your business to help you get those solutions that are going to best serve and customize your business for growth. So today, this big topic of, does pretty design lead to more sales? Some of my designer colleagues are probably going to be cringing when we finish up this conversation, but it was a conversation that I had to have live because I recently had a prospect come to me and say, we're a little hesitant to pull the trigger on this because I don't think a pretty logo and a pretty website and funnel and social media identity is going to help us sell what we're trying to sell. So always great to always have you here, as always, as a fellow colleague in branding and that does similar work to what I do. I'm sure you get this a lot as well. You know, I wanted to hear your perspective on this objection, and then we could kind of tear it up and take it home, and help our audience understand the importance of pretty design, but also understand it's a lot more than just pretty design.
Absolutely. And you know, when you get hit with that sort of a pushback, man, it's in that immediate moment, you've just kind of hit a wall, or at
Yeah,
least in
right.
the past. And I've, you know, that's where I was about 2 years ago. And then you start figuring out, you start dissecting your own services. You start dissecting exactly what it is that you're actually helping your clients do, and you start looking at that blind spot from a different perspective, which is a business performance.
Right.
And so, yeah, sure, a pretty design, if you want to call it that, aesthetically appealing design, is going to attract someone's attention. However, uh, that's just going to be that 3-second hook.
Right.
Afterwards, right? Afterwards, it's going to be your messaging. Afterwards, it's going to be your call to actions. Afterwards, is going to be what actually resonates with your target clients.
Right.
What are their problems? Articulates all that. So, yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, the thing is that knowing about your client, your ideal client's business, is probably the best way to go.
Yeah. I always use this analogy because it's so easy to comprehend. Is, you know, you're on the dating scene and you're swiping left or right. I don't even know what the swipes are these days because
Left or no, rights or yes.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. But, you know, somebody that comes across your feed, they're highly attractive. You click on them, you go out on the first date, and you find out that, you know, their personality is that of a squirrel. Chances are you're like, God, how many times am I going to go through this? Right. It's the same thing with pretty design. You know, you can have the prettiest stuff out there, but if you have no substance, if the message isn't attracting the right client, that's what's going to happen to you in a business standpoint. So when this client, so when this client said this to me, you know, my knee-jerk reaction was to jump on him, right? And to start pummeling him with reasons why that's not true. But my reaction to it was, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
Pretty designs is not going to get you more sales, not by itself. Not by itself.
Exactly.
The pretty design for everything whether it be website, funnel, logo, etc. That's like the cherry on top. But you got to taste good first. You know what I mean? You know,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly. You got to make
you
the
can't put
feel.
a cherry on a pile of dung and think that that's going to make it better.
That's right. You know, it also reminds me of when I was in my teens. We, you know, like my friends and I all had different kinds of cars that we would fix up and, like, you know, add like all the aftermarket stuff on it.
Uh-huh.
And then there were some cars, so we would, you know, we'd go racing. But then there were some cars out there that would just look fast because they had the exterior done to the point where it looked like, you know, even the exhaust system and all that. It sounded fast, but it looked fast. But when it hit the tracks,
Was it fast?
it wasn't a 10-second run.
See, you
Right?
know,
So all show and no go. You know, they looked like they were actually going to be able to do something, but no.
yes. So that's the importance of understanding pretty design. Like that, it's only going to help you so much. It may grab their attention, but what happens after you have their attention? Where's the substance? So what I told this person was, you're absolutely right. Pretty design is not going to get you the sales that you're looking for. What's going to get you the sales that you're looking for is understanding who it is that you're truly serving, the context that they're living their lives in, the problems and challenges they're going through. It's going to help you position yourself in a way online that's going to have you standing out because you have X amount of expertise in this.
Yeah.
Right? What you're saying has substance to it. And it's not just flash. You can stand in front of all the cars you want to stand in front of, the houses you want to stand in front of. You can flex all you want on that end.
Exactly.
But if you're still a douche, you're still a douche.
Yeah.
Right? If you're
And all it
talking,
takes. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, if you're talking all this fluff, it's not going to penetrate the clients that you really want to serve. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that, you know, the few times or the very small amount of times that a client is willing to work with you and does, and you're what you're claiming to provide doesn't actually line up with their experience, there goes your reputation.
Down the toilet. Exactly. You know, exactly. So what's going to get you that pretty design is coming up with the strategy, coming up with the messaging, coming up with the positioning, coming up with the insights that you need to know about your clients. That's going to help you sell more. I'll give you a quick example. I was studying Rich Silverstein and Jeff Goodby. They own a huge advertising agency in San Fran. They actually created the Got Milk campaign. Okay, just to give you some context of who these folks are. They're heavy hitters in the industry, right? Nike comes in and says, I want to get into the skateboarding world. That's a tough, I don't care if you're Nike or not. Like, that's a tough industry to crack into, especially if you're Nike and you're known for baseball, basketball, football, you know. So there was two skateboarders that worked in the agency. And when they were explaining to Rich and Jeff what they go through on a daily basis, they were shocked because I know exactly, I know this to be truth because when I was a kid in my early teens, I was a skateboarder for like 3.5 years. So we constantly got riffed by the cops, you know, when we were skating, and we actually got taken in one day, and I was petrified because I thought my dad was going to kill me. But we constantly got harassed by the cops because they thought that we were menace to society. You know, we were cracking up the sidewalks and getting in people's way at supermarkets, and you know, we were menaces, right? Jeff and Steve, Rich did not know this about the skateboarding world. So what they did was they ran a whole campaign for Nike, and they ran a spoof on it. So there were like people, let's say, there was a bunch of commercials that were made, but one of the commercials were like track stars running and they weren't even track stars, but they were people running track like in the street, and the cops pulling them over and giving them tickets for running in the street. Right. Playing tennis. The cop rolls up on the tennis court and John McEnroe is playing, and they write John McEnroe a fine for playing tennis because on the tennis court it says tennis prohibited. Do not play tennis here. Right. And they were huge hits. But here's what happened. Here's why that was so successful. They got insights about their customers by having those two skateboarders in their agency share that insight with them. And that's where brand strategy is so important. And that's what the Brand Accelerator does for clients of mine. It helps them find those insights and poke at them and leverage them so that when they go to marketing, they sound a lot different than everybody else that does what they do, right? So that's the importance of brand strategy. That's going to help inform the design. But yes, to answer everyone's question, is Pretty Design going to help me get more sales? It may, but it's not going to be as effective as going through the deep strategy work and the workshopping of your messaging, of your brand attributes, of understanding what you stand for, and all of that stuff, what you need to sound like and how you need to look and what's your X factor over everybody else that does what you do. Like, that's the deep work that needs to be done prior to getting to any Pretty Design. And to be honest with you, the strategy and the messaging is what's really going to sell you, the positioning as well. Then the Pretty Design is going to be the cherry on top, like I mentioned before, that's really going to help everything move with each other and get you the clients that you're looking for.
And more importantly, in that entire equation, Henry, is the business owners, the stakeholders, the people that are involved in actually selling your offering. You know, if you have multiple people that are involved as part of your business, development, they all need to be confident in your offerings. They all need to be confident in articulating and communicating the value of your offerings. The only way that they're going to be able to know all of that is through that deep work that Henry's just talking about. We do the exact same thing. You know, we're trying to make sure that there's no fragmentation or disjointedness between the brand, the marketing, and the sales. That they're all working in tandem with one another through what I would say is a cyclical, ongoing process for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then going back to the actual Pretty Design part, Henry, one question that I'm sure both you and I, or one objection that both you and I get hit with, and I probably have gotten hit with in the past, is I don't really like the design, or I don't think that it looks good. So my question is always, you know, now is like, okay, well, who are we designing this for?
And compared to what?
Yeah. And compared to what? Exactly.
Right. Compared to what, you know, that's something that is needs to be taken into consideration. Because, so I got a couple of things I want to share. One is, I was just recently today I recorded a podcast with Ed Parco. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's pretty big in the mortgage space in California. Has an amazing company. And I was asking him because he brought up how bigger companies out there want to commoditize mortgages, right? And like Rocket Mortgage, for example, right? You go online, TurboTax, you go online, and you fill in all this stuff, and you know it's supposed to save you all this money, time, energy, and all I kept thinking of was Fiverr. All I kept thinking of was all of these like makeshift, design companies out there that people think it's the best thing in the world until they try to fill out one of these things, and then they're like, oh shit, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. And here's what Ed said. He said, garbage in, garbage out. And I was like, man, is that true? Because I'll be honest, I was looking for a copywriter years ago, and there was funnel scripts or whatever the hell that was out. I don't know if that's the exact name of it. And I signed up for a free trial, and I get in there, and it took me 2 hours to fill out the questionnaire. And then when I hit submit, I got just trash as sales copy, as the output. And I thought to myself, like, I'm no copywriter here, and I don't care how easy this is for me to fill out, but like, this isn't helping me. I just lost 2 hours of my life here trying to fill this out. Like, I would much rather sit down with a copywriter, tell that person what I need, share with them. And I'm sure if they're any good, they're going to have a process to gather the information from me.
That's a good point.
Right? Have them work their magic, because there's an actual person doing it. So, tech and AI and all of that is so good to a point. But at the end of the day, guys, and this is what, and so this is what
I had in the past 2 months.
Right? Right. So, Ed was talking about this on my show, and he was saying how somebody was trying to do that, and they were putting in what they were making for a living as a salary, and he put in all this extra money because he's been working overtime for the past 6 months. But little do you know, if you're going for a mortgage, you have to have overtime shown for the past 2 years for it to qualify as an actual legit salary. So he was applying for a mortgage that he couldn't afford to begin with.
Oh man.
Through this platform. And just for the record, he wasn't using Rocket Mortgage. So I don't want to get sued saying that, I'm bad mouthing Rocket Mortgage here.
But it's basically one of those DIY type of a mortgage.
Yeah, it was a DIY platform. And look at what happened. So same thing for your branding. You could go in, and I had somebody that watches me pretty regularly reach out to me and said, there's this company out here that does branding, and all you got to do is punch in, you have to fill out this questionnaire, and it's going to spit out your branding. And she sent me the link. So I went to it, and I was like, this is awful. Like, this is so, what does the person using this know about this stuff? Yeah. They're going off of what they know.
Yeah.
That's like jumping into a cockpit of a plane and trying to take off and get to New York to LA safely. In my opinion. Yeah. In my opinion. There's no way in hell I'm trying to fly a plane that I don't know how to fly.
Or performing surgery on yourself.
Yes, that's another way of looking at it, right? It's another way of looking at it. So I'm going off on a tangent here, and I'm going to try to wheel, bring this all back. But for those folks that think Pretty Design is the answer, it's not. And I'll go toe to toe with any designer that thinks that Pretty Design is the answer. It's underneath the hood. It's the personality of that business that's going to land the business.
Yeah.
And if you can't work on that, if that's not important to you, then I'm not your solution, because I'm looking to work with people of substance. I'm looking to work with people that have a passion of raising the bar, not looking for the cheap way out, not looking for the easy way out. They'll do what they need to do to help the people that they want to help.
Yeah.
And those are the clients that I'm calling out. Those are the prospects I'm calling out. Those are the folks I want to work with. And I think if there's any takeaway from this, it's this. And we could do a whole nother show on this on another day. But if you're not screaming from the rooftops, maybe not scream, because that sounds a little desperate. If you're not consciously going to social media and calling out who it is that you truly want to serve, then no wonder why you're getting the prospects, the non-qualified prospects knocking at your door. It's one thing I learned this year, and we're going to do a show on this, what we learned in 2021 and what we would do differently for 2022. Maybe we'll do that Wednesday. You have to get clear with who it is that you want to serve. And you got to know them better than they know themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's by asking questions. You know, I sent out an email this morning, no call to action whatsoever, like go buy my shit. It was, when you're paying a premium for a service, what's the one thing that's most important to you when it comes to making that buying decision? And I got some pretty interesting answers back. You know, coming through on the promise. Okay, well, what is your promise? What is the promise of your product or service? Not you, Oasis, but to the audience.
Yeah.
Are you clearly defining that? Are you clearly defining who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with?
Yeah.
Your brand's personality, what you stand for, that's what's going to sell you.
That's right.
Not the fancy logo or the pretty website.
Yeah. And great, you know, I mean, it might create that first impression. What they see will hook their attention, but what they feel is what's going to get them to buy, and what they feel is really going to be part of your messaging. If you're clear on that, what they feel is how you're articulating their problems and telling them that your offerings can help them achieve the life that they want. Your offerings can help them achieve the goals or the business objectives that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Pete says it best, you know, the pretty attracts, the messaging keeps you there. It's like dating. And I mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
It's an easy analogy to use, you know, it's definitely an
Absolutely.
easy analogy to use.
Definitely.
But it goes for anything else. You know, which restaurant do you want to go to? The one that's empty or the one that's got a line out the door?
No.
You know, again, I've been to plenty of restaurants with lines out the door. You get there and the food's shit, or the food's great, but the service sucks.
Yeah.
Right. I remember this. I'm not going to say any names. I had a birthday party at a restaurant and we would go there frequently. Me and my wife, we loved this place. Food was men's and men's, but we loved the atmosphere. Right. It started getting more popular. We seen it every time we'd go. It'd be a little busier, be a little bit more chic of a person dining there. So what do I do for my birthday? I bring in 18 people. And we have an 18-person dinner party that night. We get towards the end of the meal. Restaurant owner comes over and says, "Can you pay and wrap this up? Because we need these tables."
Oh, shit.
That was the last time I ever been to that restaurant. That was 8 years ago.
Man.
And anybody that asks me about that restaurant, how is it? I share the story. That's branding.
Yeah. It's a lasting impression.
That is a lasting impression. And it lasted 8 years and
Yeah.
beyond, because I'll never go there again. I'll never go there again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean about substance. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. I'll never go there again. There's plenty of other restaurants that I go to where I walk in, they give me the best table. They give me the best food. They give me the best service. It's not because of who I am. That's their standard.
Yeah.
That's their standard. They treat everybody that way. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what your clients are looking for before they hire you. Keeping this in mind, guys. Yeah. The fancy is going to get their attention, but what happens after that? Are you prepared? I was sharing this with the prospect the other day. I said, sounds like your program's amazing, but the way it's set up right now, is it going to help you when you get 15 clients onboarded? All at the same time, perhaps? Or is it going to crumble? And I shared with them the story that I had when I started my design subscription years ago, and I got 40 new clients in one day, and I had to shut it down in a month because I couldn't keep up. It was awful. Talk about
Good
leaving
problem to have.
Yeah, but think about the impression I left on the people that I couldn't serve because I was in over my head.
Yeah. You got to have your processes in check.
Yeah. And you got to be ready. That's strategy. That's all part of it. So I said, I can't bring you to market without having that straightened out or figured out first. And the way you're selling this, he was giving me price points of what he's selling it on, what he's selling it for. And I said, this is way too cheap. You get 15 clients, you're going to put in all this work. Is it going to be worth your time at the end of the day? Maybe the offer needs to be repositioned and restructured before we go to market. So that you could take on 15 clients comfortably and not feel like you're under the knife. So that's the power of strategy. That's the power of doing that heavy lifting first and then having that information inform the design and then have everything working cohesively to get you to clients that you're looking for. That's what the Brand Accelerator does. That's what I'm committed to doing. And the promise that I deliver to my clients is getting you those insights, getting you that strategy, getting you that design that fits you and your business the way it should, but it also attracts the clients that you're looking to serve. That's my promise to my clients. That's what I am interested in getting you. So very, very important. So my question to you, audience, is what is the promise that you're delivering for your clients? Who do you want to serve? Who do you not want to serve? Are you positioned properly? Is your messaging dialed in? And are you happy with the clients that you're getting? If so, great. Keep doing what you're doing. If not, let's have a conversation. Any parting words, Oasis, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, pretty design is a piece of art. Good design will solve a business problem.
Oh, all righty then. All righty then. We will end on that note, my friends. Let us know in the comments below, what's your biggest takeaway from today's conversation? I would love to know. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribing. And if you're on Facebook or Twitter and all those, make sure you hit that follow button as well. And we'll be back here on Wednesday. Not quite sure of what the topic might be. We got some topics that Oasis and I are kicking around, but we'll make sure that we finalize that and get you something solid for Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Come check us out. Hope to have you here and get you more involved in the conversation. Talk to you soon, guys.
That's